But the current outbreaks are clearly motivating many more Australians to get vaccinated. It was reported late today that yesterday 196,000 people had a jab. 15.4% of Australians are now fully vaccinated. It is not the targeted total, but it's increasing at lightning speed. Fear motivation is often the most effective strategy. For his reaction to this national emergency in Greater Sydney and another extraordinary week of pandemic politics, I'm joined by the voice of the people here on Credlin, 2GB radio host Luke Grant. G'day there, Luke.
G'day, Chris. Good to see you, mate.
So a national emergency, the PM has initially refused to reallocate Pfizer. He hasn't actually ruled out when additional doses come, that is out of the blue, that they go to New South Wales, but it's unlikely. Should that happen, considering the heavy lifting that New South Wales has done in taking everyone else's return travellers?
Well, it's a very interesting question. I mean, we've heard, haven't we, from the beginning, we're all in this together, so-called, and every time there's a lockdown or a tough decision's got to be made, it's generally the case that it's made by a state premier in favour of their people. I mean, in the spirit of mateship, given what's going on here, hello, we need a hand. If a hand is an extra 50,000 or 100,000 potential doses, then, why not? Why wouldn't you? The ring of steel idea of Daniel Andrews, look, we shouldn't just write Daniel Andrews off. He did, and it was self-inflicted, cause that second outbreak through appalling hotel quarantine practice a year ago. They have got experience. But if National Cabinet, if you're living in Sydney today, Chris, and expecting out of National Cabinet some, great breakthrough that would just turn things around, it certainly wasn't there. Of course, Scott Morrison gave Gladys and the people of New South Wales a few extra sheggles in support a couple of weeks ago. So whatever he did today, if it benefited New South Wales, the other states would have gone off deluxe. And sadly, it shouldn't be, but we find ourselves, this is all about politics, and the health runs a close second, but it's primarily about politics, sadly.
If only we could reverse this existing hesitancy to take AstraZeneca, because as all the health experts say, it is a very good vaccine. And if you are taking medicine and having a death rate of 1 in 2 million, you are really lucky, because I don't know too many medicines you can take with that death rate.
Yeah, well, exactly. And what's got me from this, and something that was started by Daniel Andrews, in fact, all the premiers, is this 11 o'clock press conference where a lot of people, might tune in for the interest of finding out the daily number. I don't know what that word was. But, of course, people watching TV at night, I don't know why Gladys and Kerry Chant don't front the people for 10, 15 minutes every night. This is where we are. And then you get that unfiltered. We don't need journalist questions. That unfiltered, because I reckon people trust Kerry Chant, and I reckon they probably trust Gladys. They've got to be more front and centre here. I don't want a slick advertising campaign. I want to hear from the people that are dealing with this every day, but I don't want it at 11 in the morning, or I want it then and I want it at night as well. We've got to talk about this stuff. And the people, you can't just go to a press conference and say, go and get a jab. Give us the detail, but be there front and centre far more often than they are.
That's a great idea. If you've got bigger audiences at that time, why not use the audiences to push the point? I agree.
Yeah.
I watched the Health Secretary today, Brendan Murphy. Isn't it fair to say that it's Brendan Murphy and not Scott Morrison who is the chief decision maker when it comes to deciding on vaccines and deciding on how many vaccines we have at a particular time? Doesn't he need to take some of the can for what ScoMo's copying?
Well, of course he does. You're right. I mean, he's essentially the chief architect. I mean, they haven't had a lot of luck. Europe looked at us and thought, hang on, no one dies there. You're not getting 3 million doses. Forget it. And then all of a sudden, AstraZeneca, which was going to be made here, so it was ready to be shipped anywhere across Australia. We had the clotting problems. I mean, that wasn't in the control of either of those two, but the payout on the Prime Minister is absolutely appalling. And just a quick point here. Look, Albo's probably a great bloke. His seat is in Sydney. It's in the middle, according to Dan Andrews, of a fire. He's out drinking schooners with voters in Queensland. Now, he's not going to come back and jab people, but, you know, Morrison copped all sorts for not holding a hose and going away on a holiday. For goodness sake, a bit of perspective. And they're relentless on the Prime Minister, who has made his mistakes, for which he's apologised. But it seems to me with the rollout, things are getting just about back on track. And, you know, please, some positivity, people.
Yes, we're only 8 weeks behind. We can catch up, especially with that rate that we copped yesterday. Can I just add in export fronts? We have problems with China at the moment in terms of exports. But when it comes to the kids' television series Bluey, we've got American kids taking off Australian accents now, as opposed to what's gone on for the past 50 years.
Yeah. I've never seen Bluey. I don't know if he barks. I mean, it could be worse. We could have a bunch of American kids just walking around making dog noises. But you'd be like me, Chris.
He
talks, right? Okay, this is the dog that talks. What about when Happy Days were on? Did we start talking in American accents, Chris? Was that it? Or watching number 96? Did we start to talk, you know, kind of breathless? And
we just kept saying, "Hey." That's all we did.
Hey. That's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
Anyway,
you're better than most.
It's a good export industry. Have a great weekend.
Yes, mate.
Thank you, mate.
Good to see you, mate. Thank you. Bye bye.
All right.